Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at Imou's new Cell 2. You're actually watching it right now, believe it or not. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at the Imou Cell 2, which is actually recorded in there, so I'm probably going to switch between the two outputs. This doesn't keep recording all the time, so do bear that in mind. This is a battery-powered portable device, so it isn't designed for filming like what we're doing now. I figured it'd be a good idea just to show you as an example of how it works. So let's take that out of the way. We'll go through the unboxing process, see what you get, and take a look at this awesome new camera from Imou. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at Imou's Cell 2. This is actually something I've been waiting for a long time. Imou do a really good ecosystem of different products which all work extremely well together. As some of you have probably already seen, you can probably see in the background now running on my monitor. That is actually the Imou app running on a Windows PC, 64-bit, and I can use that to monitor all the cameras. It works brilliantly. We've got cameras for pretty much most of the rooms in the house, which is excellent, and back garden, front garden, driveway, etc. But there's some areas which we struggle to cover, and that is purely because we just can't really get power to there, or it's just inconvenient to actually get power to where we need the camera to be, which is about halfway down our garden, which is somewhere in the region of about 30 foot away from the house. So we didn't really want to go and put a line of cable, either low voltage or even high voltage, and do all that kind of hassle. It's a shared fence as well between us and our neighbours, so obviously there is that to think about as well. So what we really wanted was a completely wireless camera. And lo and behold, Imou have come out with the Cell 2. So the Cell branding is actually part of the previous Cell range of cameras, which worked in a similar way, and they did have wireless camera options, but they did have a kind of central base station, and they all worked with that. It was a little bit on the clunky side, if I'm completely honest, which is one of the reasons it actually put me off going down that route. I was really looking forward to something like this actually coming out. So this is using the kind of latest technology we have now in battery capacity and also compression and also file management, all that kind of good stuff. So it can be a very small device, just sipping power, and you can still get all the features that you'd expect from a fully fledged mains wired camera. Things such as a siren, a PIR lamp, which doubles up. Obviously you can use this as a night light, or it actually helps with the camera itself, so it can kind of see in the dark, giving you that full color reproduction even in complete darkness, which is absolutely awesome. We've also got obviously infrared, all that kind of stuff. A security alarm, so you can set a siren off, so if there is an intruder you can have this configured so that it actually defaults to turn on the light and flash the light instead of just keeping it on constantly, all that kind of good stuff. So loads and loads of features, but the best thing is you don't have to have it tethered to a mains cable or a DC cable. It's completely free of that. Now there is actually a big battery in here, so we're looking around about 6,000 milliamp hours, which they do say under kind of normal use, which normal use is probably going to be obviously different for a lot of people, but around about 10 activations a day, they say it should last up to about 6 months. Now you can get spare batteries for these, and they are very easy to charge using just a standard micro USB type connection, or you can actually charge them in camera. I have seen that there is plans for a solar unit to go with this, so you can actually have a solar panel as a backup unit, have it connected to the camera, so if you've got it in a place which is slightly more obscure and you don't want to have to change the battery or recharge the battery every few months or so, then the solar panel option might be worth going for. If you've got it around the eaves of a house or something that you need to get a ladder to, then that might be preferable for a little bit more expense. Alternatively, you can just buy an additional battery. It does come with one battery, but if you want more, you will have to shell out for those and have one kept as a spare, so you can quickly swap them out. But realistically, the charge of this battery only takes a couple of hours, so kind of once every Sunday, every 6 months, just take the battery out, put it on charge, and it's absolutely fine, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm waffling on way too much. Let's take a look at the packaging and see some of the specifications. So this is a smart full color camera. So what it will do is it actually has a night vision facility. So you can either have night vision set so that it is your traditional kind of black and white IR, like you can see in some of those pictures behind me, or certainly you can actually use the lamp built in, which will then allow the camera to see in the dark in full color. There's a little bit of a cheat. It's not really night vision because it's kind of just making the camera see daylight effectively because it's got a light on. But you get the general idea, and you can actually switch between the various options on there. So you can have it set to fully automatic, smart mode. which will turn on the light if it needs to in certain instances, or it will be IR night vision until it gets triggered, and then it will turn the light on so it can see in color, therefore saving battery as well. You can have it so it's full color all the time. You can have it so the night vision's turned off, and you can have just regular night vision with IR sensor, etc. You've got a 4 megapixel camera, so that's Quad HD, and again, from the intro to the video which you've seen, that was recorded on this camera. So yeah, it's obviously it's not broadcast quality, but certainly if you needed to pick out some information from a bit of footage, I think it's going to be pretty easy to do so. To say there about the 6000 mAh rechargeable battery, which is lithium ion, and also a really nice key feature of this, which is good, but I'm not entirely sure it's necessary, is the ability to use either 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz networking on those Wi-Fi protocols. Normally, pretty much all smart devices, which I've seen in the last few years, they've all been predominantly on the 2.4 gigahertz. And the reason for that is generally because 2.4 gigahertz has got considerably better range or distance, whereas 5 gigahertz obviously faster, but it is limited on what it can go through. So in some countries, I guess like America and other places where you have predominantly wooden construction and drywall, this is going to be great. So you can use your 5 gigahertz if you want to with your routers. For us in the UK and other areas which are predominantly kind of concrete, stone, engineering blocks, that kind of thing, at least we can fall back on the 2.4 gigahertz should we need to. So having the option for either is absolutely fantastic. And judging by the performance and the video bit rates, etc., you aren't going to saturate 2.4 gigahertz anyway, but certainly it's nice to have the 5 gigahertz option available should you need it. On the side, just talks about the remote viewing. Obviously, you can do it from a smartphone app, or you can do it from a laptop PC with the application installed in Windows. Got push notifications, so if there's anything that happens with the device, so say a device is triggered, then you'll get a kind of text message come up on your phone or a pop-up message from the app itself. And also there's a QR code, so you can go ahead and install those. Nice and easy to do. Just search Imou in the Apple Store or actually on the Android Store. No issues there whatsoever. On the back of the box gives you some ideas of mounting options and night and dark, etc, etc. And on the side it goes through a whole host of features such as the 4 megapixel, like we said, smart full color night vision, 100% wire free, because yeah, it is completely wireless, rechargeable battery, blah blah blah, human detection, weatherproof. Should have mentioned that, actually I didn't say that, obviously because this is an outdoor camera, it has got an IP rating, IP56 I believe it was, or IP57, I'll double check that, and if I'm wrong I'll put it in the description below or pop up here. But yeah, it's not entirely waterproof, so don't put it in a water barrel or in a swimming pool or anything like that. It's not going to work underwater, but it's certainly resistant to all the usual things, snow, rain, hailstones, all that kind of stuff. And actually it's quite funny, a lot of their outdoor cameras are actually IP rated, and quite often I'll watch the camera when it's absolutely horrible weather and you can see the hailstones bouncing off the camera, which is yeah, slightly amusing. Or do I just need to get out more? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's take a look and see what we actually get inside. Obviously you've seen some of the footage already. We'll see some more of that a little bit later on as we go through. So this section here is going to be the camera itself. So there is the camera. Actually pretty cute and relatively compact as well. I'll put the dimensions on the screen now, so length, height and depth, etc. But it's essentially it's kind of very rectangular, quite a cube shape there. On the front, obviously, you've got a protective coating that comes in the packaging. You've got your 4 megapixel camera lens there. In the top, there's also the floodlight or the PIR light. There's also an infrared light built in as well. Another nice feature as well, there is a little tiny little port there, which is for the microphone. So there's actually got a microphone built in, so you can enable two-way speech. So say, for instance, you've got this mounted over maybe your front door. Then if the Amazon man comes, you get a notification on your phone saying someone's triggered the alarm or someone's in front of the camera's vision. And you go, oh, great, Amazon man. And you can open up the app on your phone, enable two-way talk, and have a conversation, tell them to actually leave it on the porch or leave it with a neighbor, that kind of thing. This works actually really well, even though there is a slight delay because obviously you're going through a server, etc, etc. The servers appear to be relatively nearby. They don't appear to be Chinese servers, so it does seem to be bouncing from an EU server. Your mileage may differ, obviously, depending where you are and when you're connecting, etc, etc. But the delay was actually quite minimal. There is a speaker on the front as well, so you can hear and they can hear you, etc, etc, all that kind of stuff. I'll give you an example of that a little bit later on in the video anyway, so you can see what that's all about. But I actually had this with one of my other cameras from Imou, which is on our front door at the moment. I was working on a Sunday and the Amazon guy came and he needed a signature. And obviously we weren't there to sign for it, so I had a conversation and went through and said, oh, actually in the Amazon app there's a code I can give you just to prove who I am and it's my purchase. So Had a conversation with the guy, he left the package, I gave him his number that he needed from Amazon, and it was all good. So I didn't miss that really important delivery just by using the technology built in this, which I thought was awesome. Anyway, back to this camera. The bottom bit actually comes off really easily. I was a bit stunned at first. I looked at this and I was like, what the heck is going on? But literally, on the back, there is a section which tells you locked or unlocked, and all you do is a slight twist, and there's a little bit of resistance because there's a rubber gasket in there, and then you can just pull the base off, and then that will reveal the internals. So you've got the battery section, which I'll show you the battery going in shortly. So the battery goes in there. There's an SD card, and actually this does come with a 32 gig card pre-installed, ready to go, which is actually, I think, the first time ever I've received any security camera which actually had a micro SD card pre-installed, ready to go. Very pleased with that, and actually it does even have Imou branding on it as well, so it's not as if they've just bought a load of cards and chucked them in a package in. They've actually gone out, got SD cards, or micro SD cards rather, specifically for these devices and put them in there, so that's excellent. And obviously they're going to be rated to the speed rating of the camera's potential. Next up, there is a on-off button. So when you put your battery in for the first time, you press this button here. That also doubles up as a reset button. So if for some reason you need to reset the device for changing Wi-Fi, anything like that, then you can press and hold that button and go through the setup routine, which is very straightforward, easy to do. On the back, if I put my finger over the QR code just in case, so we've got a 1/4 inch thread there. So that is for mounting onto, you could do it on a tripod if you wanted to, for some mad reason, you could attach it somewhere like that, but it does come with a bracket, which we'll look at shortly. And on the top is a little rubber gasket up here, and that will then reveal the micro USB style charging point. Now obviously when the solar panels come out or are available, the backup solar charging panel, that will plug into there, and there will be like a weather seal around that as well to keep it still watertight and all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully when that does arrive in the UK, we'll be getting one of those, and I'll definitely be adding it, just so I don't have to keep on thinking about charging the camera up, which isn't a big deal, but it's just, again, it's one of those things that I don't want to have to think about. Just want to get on with my life and enjoy it, and not have to worry about batteries being charged all the time. But anyway, that is the camera itself. So yeah, pretty nice, looks good. It does come in an option of 2 particular colors. So we've got this one, which is obviously in white. There's also a black version as well. So if you want something a little bit more discreet possibly, then the black version can be yeah, tucked away somewhere, and obviously isn't going to draw too much attention to it, and it kind of was going to look almost like an outdoor speaker or something, whereas this actually does look like a security device in my opinion. So that's the camera itself. Let's take a look in the accessories box. It's not going to be much of a surprise, but you get all the usual things. So you get some wall plugs and some mounting screws for mounting the actual adjustment section onto the wall, which we'll show you shortly. You get the battery itself. So the battery, lithium ion battery, very straightforward, very simple. So prongs on one side to make contact inside. There's a little metal clip on there which holds it actually in the unit itself. Micro USB charging on there, and there is an LED built into the battery as well, which tells you if it's charged or charging. So red means it's charging, green means it's all done, ready to go. Happy days. Again, it doesn't take particularly long to charge. In the other side of the box, so we do get a cable included. So that is our micro USB cable to USB type A. There is a mounting bracket. So this is part of the mounting bracket. 2 holes in there, which you would then screw to a surface. And then the last part of the equation is the actual wall mounting bracket. This is actually pretty cool. They've thought ahead. So if you do want to use the solar section, they've actually got some little bits on there which you can actually kind of prise out and run your cable down through the back just to keep things nice and neat and tidy. But this is your kind of traditional setup. So you mount this onto the wall, goes onto the back, and then you move it either up or down to actually secure it, and that just kind of locks into place on the back once you've actually got it attached to your wall. So yeah, that's all very straightforward, very simple, nice and easy to do. I did notice at first, I was thinking, well, how do you actually adjust the ball joint section? It does seem it is extremely tight in there, but you can, if you use enough force, you can move it. And actually, in fact, if I screw this onto the back, you'll see it. This did actually catch me out the first time because I was like, well, how's that going to move? Once it's actually in there, you'll see it does move with that extra bit of force on it. So this is going to hold it in place really well. And as you can see, it doesn't want to move at all. It's firmly stuck in place. So it's going to stand up to things like gale force winds and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe even the odd animal outside. Maybe you've got cats, squirrels, or whatever running around the place. And if they accidentally knock it, it's not going to move it. And it's not going to kind of make the camera see a different area, which is great if you're using this to maybe keep an eye on a property, maybe abroad or maybe in another part of the country, maybe an outhouse or something else, wherever it is. It's one of those things where you can pretty much set it and forget it, as long as you obviously have that solar power. If not, every now and then you're going to have to open that bottom bit up and grab your battery, which again, nice and easy to do, just clicks into position, and to remove it you just push that clip in and the battery just comes out nice and easily. Again, it's all water sealed, gaskets in there, all that kind of stuff. Once you put it in there, press the button on the bottom, just press it once and you'll see, hopefully, so now the LEDs come on, so now that is firing up. So we can put the lid on the bottom, that's all nicely weather sealed now. And again, it's ready to be mounted wherever you want to. Of course you can if you want to, you can buy multiple options of this, so you can move it around if you want to, or if you need to, you can just put it onto a desk or on top of a shelf. Again, whatever you want to do, it's your camera. As long as there's a Wi-Fi signal that's going to get to it, then you can put it pretty much wherever you want to. So that's pretty much it for the unboxing part of it. I'm going to get this set up actually outside in the garden. I'm going to get some footage from both the night and also during the day, and then we'll come back later, analyse some of the footage, do a little bit of pixel peeping, and then come back with my final thoughts. And also we'll discuss things like price and availability in your local area. Okay, so we come back, it's a couple of days later, and I can report to you my findings with this new Imou Cell 2 camera. So actually I'm quite impressed with the flexibility. Now there are a couple of negative points at the moment, which I would say will most likely be remedied in future firmware updates and software updates. That is the one good thing about Imou. They do tend to offer lots and lots of firmware updates, and in fact on all the rest of the cameras that we've got set up here, there's generally a firmware update maybe once a month or maybe every 2 months. So it's something that they're continually working on. Even if you've got some of the older cameras in the range, then they will be updating them at some point or other if there's any flaws or anything that they feel needs fixing. Now something which I do think which needs fixing, we'll get this straight out of the way, due to the fact this is actually a wireless device. Now obviously it's dependent entirely on the battery. Now one thing I have noticed, which at the moment there doesn't appear to be a way to actually remedy, is the fact that the light, the spotlight which is built into it, actually activates during the day. Now there's a couple of times, you'll probably see from some B-roll which I filmed already, just me filming outside today, taking some close-ups of the camera itself mounted in the position on the fence post. You can see that the light actually does trigger, and it's in complete broad sunny daylight. So that's definitely something which I feel that Imou needs to either address in a firmware update. It's a relatively simple thing to do. All it needs to do is look at the light levels in the actual image, and it can decide whether the light should be on or off. Now this could be down to a slight quirk with the firmware. There are 4 settings, as we said, between the smart auto mode, the IR modes, all that stuff, etc, etc. So that's definitely something which is going to reduce the battery life. Now I have actually hammered this thing, been looking at footage, myself, Kath, we've been checking out things in the garden, doing tests, etc. And we've managed to get the battery down to somewhere in the region of about 78% of capacity. And this is only in about 2 or 3 days. So obviously we have given it a lot of use, and we're using it in a way which really isn't intended to. So for me personally, I think the sooner they can actually get the solar panel out for this to actually give it a little bit of a backup charge, especially on days like today where it is winter. So we do get a little bit of sunshine, but not a great deal, but it will definitely be worth having just to keep the battery topped up. Now obviously, depending on your usage, this may or may not be a factor. If it's going to be in some sort of corridor or hallway where there's not a lot of movement, then it's going to be absolutely fine, and potentially you could see that 6-month battery life. But I think for most people in sort of slightly more busy areas, and especially for us with lots of cats and animals in our back garden, and also the fact that it does look onto the neighbours as well, that is going to cause extra triggers and obviously wear down that battery. So let's talk about some of the positives now. Obviously in the testing you're seeing some of the footage. Now actually pretty much all the footage which has been recorded has actually been in the kind of the enhanced mode, which is basically trying to do a bit of power saving and reduce the battery life as far as possible. Not to a point where it's kind of unwatchable. There is a power saver mode which will reduce things dramatically. This is kind of in that kind of medium range, which is the factory default. Now actually after changing that to the high performance mode and actually switching from my 2.4 GHz network to my 5 GHz network, there's a dramatic increase in data throughput and also image quality. The standard footage, which you've probably seen already, a lot of that was filmed 1080p or recorded in 1080p, and some of it has been recorded on the desktop as well, which you're probably seeing also. But actually going onto the higher resolution, the 2.5K, it does actually look a little bit better, and you'll see again from some of the close-ups, there are some sections where I've looked directly into the camera lens, and after it's actually kind of focused on me and realised what is going on, it has actually a particularly sharp image. Another one of the positive points of this, obviously probably the key thing for most of you if you're watching this and considering it, is the fact that it is completely wireless, apart from obviously recharging the battery. But the fact that it's completely wireless, you can mount it in a position where you wouldn't normally mount a camera. This, for a lot of people, is going to be the key selling point. A lot of people don't want to be drilling holes in the house or in their outbuildings, etc., to run cables through and to get power to it. So for that purpose alone, if you're into the Imou ecosystem and you just want that wireless camera somewhere, this is absolutely brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about the price. Now, price at the moment of this, Amazon.co.uk, currently is retailing for $99.95. There is a 5% voucher currently, as of today, and Imou do actually offer quite decent discounts from time to time, so definitely keep an eye on those if you are considering one of these. Maybe not directly now, but in the future, go to Amazon and put it in your bookmarks and check out the prices on a regular basis, and I'm pretty sure at certain times of the year you'll find there's going to be a decent discount. So talking of the price, let's look at some direct comparisons, or as direct as we can make it. Now, actually looking on Amazon.co.uk and other security sites, trying to find a camera which actually has all the same features as this is essentially impossible. There isn't one on the market as far as I can tell at the moment. So to actually have all the features in here to do a direct comparison is quite difficult. The closest one I could find of a similar kind of image quality, the Reolink doesn't have quite the same ecosystem, but it is a comparable product. That is only 1080p, doesn't have the spotlight and all those kinds of nice features, two-way talk, etc. it doesn't have. So we're basically just going on a kind of perceived image quality. That is actually somewhere in the region of about £70 on Amazon.co.uk. So for the difference in price, around about £20, £30, you are getting a ton of extra features. Again, you're getting a two-way talk, and also you're getting the alarm feature and all that kind of stuff. And you're getting the increased resolution, jumping from 1080p up to that 2.5K. So definitely there is things to look at. Also, something which is really important is the fact that this is pretty much ready to go straight out of the box. With that included 32GB card, it is essentially ready to go straight away. You don't have to buy that as a separate additional item. And of course, if you want to, you can upgrade that at a later date. If you find that 32GB isn't quite enough for you, which is unlikely, you can always put a larger card in. This currently supports up to 256GB cards, so if you want to, you could definitely put one of those in. So overall, as long as they can sort out the problem with the light coming on during the day, which is, I'm guessing, is a relatively easy thing to fix, and certainly I will be emailing Imou about that, just to make them aware of it if they're not already. I'm sure they probably will be. This is a very new product on the market, so again, there is going to be those little things which they need to iron out, which hopefully they will do very quickly. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below, but in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.